Good morning, second graders. My name is Mrs. Bankston and I'm really excited to be here to teach you about some measurement and data. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to use a ruler that you have on your desk to measure some different objects we have in the classroom. Raise your hand if you've seen a ruler before. Johanna has, Jennifer has. Good. So we use rulers obviously to measure objects. Now, if you look at the ruler, you'll notice that there's two different sides. One has the bigger sides, and those we call inches, and then the smaller numbers are what we call centimeters down here. Today we're only going to be focusing on the inches side. So by looking at your ruler, does anybody have a guess as to how many inches might be on this ruler? Anybody think they know? Jennifer?
12.
12, good. How did you come to that conclusion by looking at your ruler? What gave you that hint?
It's the biggest number at the end.
Good, exactly. So the length of a ruler is 12 inches. So that means everything that we're going to be measuring today, all of those objects in the classroom, are going to be somewhere between 1 inch and 12 inches, okay? So first, let me demonstrate to you how I'm going to hold a ruler. So, for example, we have a Kleenex box. This is going to be the first object that we measure. We want to measure the length of an object. So both length and long begin with the letter L. So if you ever forget, you can always remember L and L go together. So when I want to measure my Kleenex box, I want to first make sure that I have the inches side of my ruler on the top, because that's what we're going to be using to measure. Does everyone see that? Oops, I had it upside down. Of course you didn't see it. All right, there we go. Got it. So when we hold our Kleenex box up to our ruler, we want to make sure that the very tip of the ruler is at the very tip of our Kleenex box, okay? So if I had my ruler held like this, or it was crooked, I'm not going to get an accurate measurement. And if I don't get an accurate measurement, then everything else I do with that measurement is going to be inaccurate as well, right? So when I hold my Kleenex box up to my ruler, I can see that it's about 9 inches long. Does everyone agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have our Kleenex box is 9 inches long. Now, if I took another object, for example, the index card, and did the same thing, I line my ruler up against my index card. I go all the way to the very end where the index card ends, and I see it's about 5 inches long. So far we have a Kleenex box of how many inches?
9.
9 inches, and an index card of 5 inches, okay? So one thing about this lesson is we're not just going to learn how to measure objects, but also how to write those equations to find the difference in length. So let me ask you this. If I want to find the difference, what kind of symbol would I use? We've worked a lot with addition and subtraction problems previously in the math unit, and we've talked a little bit about how one gives us bigger numbers and one gives us the smaller numbers. So what do you think the symbol would be? Does anybody have an idea? Jennifer?
Subtraction.
Good, the subtraction symbol. So when I go to my board to write my equation, I'm going to have the 9 inches, which was the length of my first object, and then using the subtraction symbol that Jennifer said, I'm going to place that there, and then the length of my other object, which was 5 inches. So then we have an easy subtraction problem set up that we all know how to solve. So 9 minus 5 is 4. Good. Okay. Now, how do you think I knew I wanted my 9 to be first? Just because it was the first object I measured?
Because it's the bigger number.
Because it's the bigger number. Good. So whenever we're doing a subtraction problem in this unit, we always want to make sure that the bigger number comes first. Otherwise, we're going to get a negative number. Okay? So let's try one more example. So I have my ruler. I have my inches side up. Whoopsie. And I have a postcard. Okay? Now this one kind of is confusing because I want the length of the postcard. So I'm going to have to flip it sideways, line up my ruler, make it very nice and straight, and I can see that the postcard is 4 inches. Does everyone see how I got that? Okay, now we have a pencil. Pencil is going to be our second object. So I line my pencil up again. I have it nice and straight on the ruler with the tip at the very tip of the ruler. And it's about 7 inches, okay? So I started with the postcard, which is 4 inches and 7. So like Johanna mentioned earlier, we always want the bigger number to be first. So just because I measured the postcard first and it had a length of 5, doesn't always mean that it's going to come first. So, who thinks they know what my second equation would look like? Anyone have an idea? Johanna?
7 minus 4.
7 minus 4. 7 minus 4 equals 3. Good. Now with both of these equations, remember, sure. Okay. So now with both of these equations, remember when we talk about in math that we really need to use labels. Labels such as centimeters, inches, whatever we're measuring becomes our label. Otherwise, people like me or whoever else you're presenting the information to might not know what you're talking about. So since I used inches to measure both of my objects, what do you think the unit might be?
Inches.
Inches. So for both of these, you want to make sure that you add your label inches so that everyone knows what you're talking about. Because if this was in a different unit, it might be a lot different. Okay? Good. Raise your hand if you're feeling confident. Do you think you know how to measure? Do you think you could do it now maybe with the help of some table members? Okay. So what I've done is I have a few different objects set out around the room. I want you to pair up with your table buddy. So Jennifer and Mark can go together and then Johanna and Paul at the other group. I'll give you about 3 minutes to work and then we'll switch groups so you can have a chance to measure all of the objects, okay? Make sure you bring your ruler and a pencil so that you can record all of your measurements and then set up that equation, okay? So if you have all that, go ahead and go to your station. I'll walk around and see if you have any questions. Do you have any questions, Jennifer?
Did I do that right?
Yep, so you had the ribbon and it's 10 inches and the box is 7 inches. Good. So the box is kind of tricky because the length you had to flip it on the side just like that. Good. Really nice job.
Am I supposed to keep this closed?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that right?
Looks good. We'll come back and see if everyone got the same answers. Okay, so if you're finished, go ahead and switch stations. Quietly walk to the next station so we can move efficiently. Good job. And for this one, just make sure you can keep it closed because if you open it, it'll make the length a little different. For this one, I think Johanna measured it this way, so when you get the same answers, it's okay. Can you show me with your fingers how many more minutes you think you might need? A few minutes? Just a few minutes? Okay, we'll take 1 more minute. finishing up, so why don't you return to your seats. We'll come back as a large group and discuss some of our findings. So the first group, Jennifer and Mark, what did you find for the length of the ribbon and the shortbread box?
Well, my ribbon was 10 inches long, and my box was 7 inches long.
Okay, good. So what did you find as your difference?
Well, I subtracted 7 from 10 to get 3 inches.
Okay, so Jennifer had as her equation 10 minus 7 equals 3. Okay, so all other groups agree?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so Johanna and Paul, what did you find for the second station?
We found that the green paper was 8 inches and the postcard was 6 inches.
Okay. So did your equation look something like 8 minus 6?
Yeah.
That's what you did?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys agree?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So then we have 2, and what's our unit?
Inches.
Inches. Good job. We'll add those on both. All right. So now that we've had some time to practice with our table numbers, and I've shown you a few different ways to measure, I'm going to go ahead and hand out your assessment. These ones should be completed individually, so I can see what you know, and then based on how well we do, we can see if we need to go back and relearn some things, or if we're ready to move on to the next activity. Okay? So if you have any questions during it, just raise your hand, and I will come to you. When you finished your assessment, please come set it in the turn-in box on my table, just like the turn-in procedures that we've practiced. Good luck.
Do we just find 3 options?
Mm-hmm. You can just take some from your desk that you maybe have, or when you're finished, please come turn it in on the turn-in desk. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Johanna. Looks like everybody's finishing up. So I just want to say that I thank you guys so much for being such great listeners today. It's been really fun getting to teach you how to use a ruler to measure and make equations for finding the difference between two objects. Does anyone have any final questions on this activity before we move on to something else? No? Well, great job, second graders. It's been really fun.